Welcome to the Craftsman Corner, where we take a look at modern craftsmen performing both traditional techniques as well as modern techniques and how they apply to the world of Japanese swords. In our first episode, we'll be looking at a Nihonto tsuka restoration done by Cottontail Customs. My first Nihonto Katana was a Bishu Osafune Morishige gimei that had the Ito decide it wanted to disintegrate on me after handling it on just a few occasions. That wasn't going to work for me, and as it disintegrated, it was clear that the tsuka had definitely seen better days. Enter Cottontail Customs. Here you can see the bare core, and obviously this is the omote side, but you can see that it was reused Samigawa at some point. You can see the previous Mukugi hole as well as where the Manuki were mounted, as well as various other points of damage and repair. Here is the Ura side. Taking a look at the Manuki itself, we have the omote Manuki here with the villager or traveler looking up at Mount Fuji, and then we have the Ura side. Hopefully he's just taking a rest and he's not dying somewhere, but also looking in a different direction at Mount Fuji. Here you can see the rears of the Manuki as well as the mei on one side that I believe is Naomasa. And that does look like it was an authentic mei on this particular piece. So now we're taking a look at the omote side of the Fuji, and then we'll look at the reverse side, which you will very clearly see the indentation of it for the accessory tool. That's kind of how you can tell that this wasn't original equipment, because the saya does not have the indentation for the accessory tool itself. You have your wave pattern shakudo kashira here, and in the next instance here we will note the gaps from the tsuka shitaji to Fuji area. So there's a gap that needs to be taken up in this point. You've got Frankenstein pieces and you might have something like this happen. So now Cottontail Customs works on the wood filler with rice paste and sawdust. This is traditional techniques here. So you've ground up the sawdust and you work with the rice paste to make filler. As you can see here, we're filling the gaps on the tsuka shitaji near the Fuji and on the kashira ends as well. So we'll transition to those photographs here in a moment. I'm trying to narrate this relatively quickly just so that we're not staring at one image for too long. When we're taking a look here, you can see something rather interesting, that this kashira has been repaired once before. So it's always interesting when you dive into something and you see things that have happened that you might not have noticed from a glance. So as we take a look at the next series of photos here, you can see the old sawdust repair work that was done at some point prior, who knows when, traditional techniques, and you'll see that here's a chunk of that repair that's been carved out. So obviously you don't want to put a repair on top of repair, so Cottontail has removed this piece. Now the next section you're going to see here is a flatter area that has been carved out, prepping for a better quality repair at this point. Here you're going to see the sawdust blended in, rubbed onto it here. This is old school Bondo, folks, but traditional. Now from this area you're going to see the old kyogi strips just totally thrashed and disintegrated at some point. So the old ones are going to be removed and the new strips are going to be prepped. So these are the new kyogi strips. So now we're going to take a look at what it looks like to line the shitaji, ha, and mune side with the new kyogi strips. So let's take a look at what that looks like here on both sides. With the new strips in place, you'll also notice that the Samigawa itself was cleaned up quite a bit from what it looked like when the original Ito was removed. At this point, checking the fit of the Ito under the rim of the Fuji is what we're going to take a look at this point. Got to make sure that everything's going to work out right. You know, the dimensions don't stay quite the same when you're doing this, which is rather interesting, and I'll talk about it at a later point in time. So at this point, we're doing some repairs as much as we can. We're going to line the ha and the mune of the fuchi end for a tighter fit. So that's what you're seeing here. You see these pieces of bracing material that are being added to it to make sure that everything is tight and snug and that there isn't anything rattling around. At this point, you're applying you're drying and shaping the wood filler, continuing to do this here. And now you can see this on the kashira side as well right here. You can see the little bit of it added that's just taking up some of the gaps that are there. At this point, we're applying washi paper lining for the shitaji end knot on the omote side. So this is going to help get everything taken care of. It's a necessary thing, and now we're taking a look at it on the ura side as well. At this point, the fuchi and kashira were covered with a protective film while the work's being done. There's a photo of this, but that's done here. So now we're adding sap pitch to help secure the manuki post. And we are going to start the wrapping at this point, as you can see. So we've got silk ito, we've got the manuki that are being seated into the original holes, so we're not changing the position on these. This is kind of a mid position, and that's a wrap. I know it seems relatively quickly, and more time was put into that, but take a look at this here. Talk about a transformation. These were the pictures that I received, and I was just absolutely blown away. I mean, I could not believe that this was the same tsuka core, having pulled the original ito off of it myself and seen what condition it looked in. So obviously I was very excited to receive this and see what it felt like in the hand and what it looked like on the sword itself and how it fit. There were some fitment issues with the way that everything was set up before, and that commonly happens with Frankenstein pieces here. So after I received the finished tsuka, how was it? Talk about a transformation. I don't quite know what I expected. At this point, my experience had been Chinese reproduction swords. It had been antiques that were in relatively rough shape, so I just really didn't know. I was absolutely floored and blown away. It looked pristine. It was ridiculously tight. Everything was in place where it needed to be. It felt fantastic in the hand. It kept great lines. And interestingly enough, when I had originally received this sword, the tsuba was loose. It didn't quite fit quite right. You could tell that it was pieced together. As the work was completed on this, I think the overall dimensions of it kind of expanded a little bit, and it might have been compressed and increased a little bit. Cottontail Customs did not have the sword, they only had the tsuka, so it was kind of a crapshoot in my brain how it was going to fit when I received it. Imagine my surprise when I popped it on, put the makugi in, and everything was nice and tight with the original tsuba that came with it. I mean, it blew my mind. So now I have this piece that is just an impeccable piece of craftsmanship, both on the blade side, the habaki side, and now the tsuka side. I wanted to thank Cottontail Customs for allowing us to do this review here and allowing me to send a piece of work into him. He's extremely busy. And thank you for helping us put this together and being our first craftsman featured on the Craftsman Corner. If you ever get the opportunity to check out his work, I highly recommend you do so. Thank you and have a great evening.